Hey, welcome back to Two Super Guys Trade Stocks. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Vinny, and today we're talking about Michael Burry's Q3 2022 quarterly filing. The 13F came out today. We're going to see what he's been buying. He started buying back into the market a little bit. We're going to talk about the companies he's been buying.
Two Super Guys Trade Stocks. All right. What is it?
Well, can you guess by the background here what he's been buying?
Prisons and shopping. Oh, I think the subscribe button is up. I didn't even mean to do that. Oops.
Yeah, I love it.
All right.
So, I actually had to grab the screenshot from a different website that I normally use. I usually use Well Wisdom, but they didn't actually have it updated at the time I was trying to put this thing together. But this is the totality of Michael Burry's portfolio right now. Now, this is the SEC kind of filing. It doesn't tell us anything about cash, doesn't tell us anything about foreign stocks or short positions don't have to be disclosed. Call contracts, put contracts, and then long equities need to be disclosed, and that's it. All right. So this only gives us a little bit of taste. But
Okay.
you see our
This
old
is
friend
very
here,
different.
Geo Group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Geo Group is the prisons, right?
Geo Group is the prison and is the only stock he held in his last 13F filing. So
Okay.
everything else in this filing is new, and he added, additional kind of position to the Geo Group. If you look at it right here, 300% increase. So he's adding significantly to that position
Interesting.
compared to prior. All right.
What is
Uh,
this Curat retail crap?
So that was the one that caught my eye, and right immediately, it's now his second largest holding. It's still only $10 million. We can talk about his total portfolio size a little bit later, but um, this is basically it's QVC International, not the QVC domestic one. The QVC that your grandmother probably watches on occasion. I don't know if you have
Yeah.
anyone in your family that uses that. Yeah,
So it's not
so
that one?
it's not that one. It's their international division. It's also HSN and Zulily. It's another like online shopping basically platform, or I'm sorry, television shopping platform. So I did a little trade on that one today, and I closed it already before the end of the day because I didn't want to be like one of those social media influencers, influencers, yeah, right, that actually is trying to make money by front running trades. Core Civic, another prison REIT, right? Aerojet Rocketdyne, and then Charter Communications and Liberty Latin American, which is another communications company. The basic kind of trend that you notice across all of these is that they're all trading at about 10 or so in terms of their price to FFO, or funds from operation, which is what you use when you value a REIT, with the exception of the Aerojet Rocketdyne.
Yeah, I gotta. Do you know what like dollar? Oh, 40. It's right there. It's on the side. Oops. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not really familiar with that, to be honest with you.
No. So, this came out from one of the Twitter profiles that follows this stuff as well. And it was this made me laugh a little bit. His portfolio is now over 50% prison stocks. Like that's he was 100% last quarter, so 50% for him is actually going down. So
Yeah.
when you write that, you have to know the basis. Otherwise, you're going to read that and go like, "Oh man, I guess he's really wants to buy a lot of prisons." Burry talked a little bit about the prison stock stuff too. This is from a tweet from a little while ago, a couple months back, but basically, he talks about how he's trying to dispel false narratives and that there's this negative connotation. You see it everywhere. You'll see it in our comments probably later on. You'll see it on Reddit talking about this today about how like private prisons should be illegal. You shouldn't own private prisons. So it's morally complicated. And like actually, I before doing any like kind of looking into that, I get that argument, right? But the facts he throws out here, this is the whole kind of thing. I can leave it up here so people can read it if they choose. But what he's really trying to say is that the actual vast majority of things of these private prisons are not confinement facilities. This is the major line right here. 80% of these private prisons are community-based programs. So these are really used more as stepping stones to get people reacclimated to society. All
I
right.
just.
So if that makes you
But
feel
how do they
morally
make?
better about owning it.
How do they make profit though? That's the like. How is that a profitable business?
I mean, it's still by government contract that they're being paid for this. It's not what when you say private prison, it doesn't conjure up the same image as it does when you talk about a community based kind of like reacclimation program, right?
Okay. So
Yeah.
one question I have: if you add up the amount of money that he has invested, isn't that not that much compared to what the entire hedge fund is? Because that's what I just typed in. It's not that much.
Yeah. So back up to the slide here in a second. So I actually saw Daniel from Unrivaled Investing talking about this, saying how like this is generated by whale wisdom. This is showing his total portfolio over time. And if you look at all the way back here to the peak of this thing, he had like a $2 billion valuation at one point, or almost. That's really a fake number, though, because this is calculated based upon the total value of call or put contracts that are also in the portfolio, like
Right,
what those
which is
shares are
not
controlled. That's how much
right.
controlled. That's really unrealistic to where he actually was. When you're looking at more of this kind of pre kind of COVID era here, we're talking about a couple hundred million, $200 to $300 million. That's more in line with I think what his portfolio was actually worth in total. So if you're still looking at this, kind of what the most recent quarterly filing, we're talking about a portfolio that's still mostly going to be in cash. All right.
Or shorting, we just don't know.
Or shorting. Yes. Or, for those of us that are Alibaba bag holders, maybe he's buying some Hong Kong shares of Alibaba. You never know. I kind of doubt it, but it's possible. He has talked about China being deeply undervalued comparing it to 2009 American stock prices. So maybe that's a possibility. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that this is not an accurate reflection of what his portfolio was at peak. And he didn't have this dramatic sell off here. This is him closing positions, and that he no longer has call or put contracts controlling a significant number of shares. Then this kind of basic idea here, this is where he's talking about kind of his investing philosophy a little bit here, is just trying to get these stocks that are just so cheap that it doesn't really matter. And that's where I think he's looking at when he looks at these private prison groups, where you're talking about 10% yield in terms of funds from operation. That's his attraction, I think.
That definitely makes sense for the people who are wondering what his call options were, and if you followed this channel for a while. The TLT trade where I shorted the treasury bonds, he had a shit ton of puts on that. So I mean, that was part of it.
Remember Tesla too. He famously had a
had a
whole
lot of
ton of
Tesla.
Tesla puts, Apple puts at one point in time too. He's had some pretty large options trades that were, when you look at these kind of websites, they're listed as number one in terms of a position value.
I bet he wished he
So
still has those Tesla puts.
I know, right? So I actually had today off, so I had some free time, and I was basically refreshing the SEC website looking for this to come out. So when it came out this morning, it was, I don't know, maybe 10:30 or so. I had actually texted you, and I saw that this company, this QRTAEA, the parent company here for Zulily QVC, was now his second largest holding. I bought two call options, $1 call options expiring in December. I picked them up, I think, for what was it, 85 cents a share, 82 cents of which was actually intrinsic value at that point in time. I sold them maybe about an hour later, a little profit. I think I sold them for 90 a piece, basically. So I made like $10 in the trade, just because I didn't want to come on here tonight and then shoot this video and have, all these gains that have been occurred here since then. And also like anything that happens after this and be like, oh, like I front run this trade. I guess I did, but I didn't want to not disclose it, sort of thing, and I'm out of it entirely at this point. But.
So wait, are you trying to say that you're a YouTube financial person, like with honor? Because that's not in the space.
No, yeah, definitely not. I just have a mildly guilty conscience. I don't know why. It's like this weird nagging voice in my head. It sounds like my mother. No. I was like, I couldn't do it. I thought about just writing the thing up until like the end of the day, basically today. Probably could have made another, 30, $40, something on that trade. It was a small trade, but interesting idea. If you pay enough attention when you see these little $700 million micro caps. The other major lesson I kind of was thinking about as I'm looking through his portfolio was that I really need to start looking more at small cap companies. That's really where, as an individual investor that wants to do time and kind of start doing their own kind of deeper dive due diligence on companies, that's where you have a competitive edge, because like Buffett can't invest in this.
Yeah, and small caps historically will almost always beat large caps, right? Just as long as they're not biotech. Just stay away from biotech. It's just not
Yeah, that's
a
why.
good idea.
Exactly. Yep. Well, let us know what you think about the changes in Michael Burry's portfolio today, and whether or not I should have stood in this trade. Screw the honor.
Yeah, give us a like and subscribe if you like the information, guys. Have a good one.